My name's Brandon Gailey, and in this episode of The Blog Millionaire, I'm going to break down the perfect blog post title formula. I have used this exact formula to build my Google traffic to over 1 million monthly visitors. Let me start by saying that post titles are more important than the actual words of the post. And the reason why is that the Google click-through rate is a major component of their algorithm. The post title has the biggest impact on the Google click-through rate. So if your post title doesn't get clicked, then it's never going to have a chance to rank high enough on Google to get traffic. Here's another reason why blog post titles are important. 8 out of 10 people will read the post title or the headline copy, but only 2 out of 10 will read the rest. Here is the perfect title formula that I use in the majority of my blog post titles across all of my blogs and the blogs of my clients. The perfect title formula is odd number plus superlative plus exact keyword phrase. The first example I have here is 21 best photography tips for beginners. The 21 in green is your odd number. The yellow best is the superlative, and then the blue is the exact keyword phrase, which is photography tips for beginners. In the second example, it's 11 great WordPress plugins for SEO. The 11 is the green, that's the odd number. The yellow, great, is the superlative, and the blue is the exact keyword phrase, which is WordPress plugins for SEO. The exact keyword phrase is taken from the phrases that you identified during your keyword research. You may be asking yourself, why do you start your blog post title with a number? Well, people prefer to click on titles with numbers because they can expect to get an article that they can easily scan. They've been conditioned over years and years with Google. Whenever they click on a title that has a number, they know that that post is going to be a nice list post that they can scan through all the key points of the list. It's also been proven that people prefer titles that start with an odd number over an even number. Now, no one's ever been able to say why that is, but the research consistently shows that this is the case. When it comes to starting off your titles with a number, I don't want you to just take my word for it. Conductor did an expansive study on the overall headline preferences, and they found that the numbered title is preferred across the board. As you can see, the first green bar is the numbered title. After that, you've got reader addressed, how-to titles, then your normal titles, and question titles. But by far, the numbered title is preferred by everyone. Here's another study by Backlinko and Content Marketing Institute, which looked at the odd-numbered headlines versus the even-numbered headlines. And as you can see, the odd-numbered headlines were clicked on 20% more than the even-numbered headlines. Now let's talk about the reason for using superlatives in your titles. There was another conductive study that found adding just a single superlative to a title dramatically increased the click-through rate. Here are some superlatives that have been proven to produce an emotional response, which is really important for getting someone to click on it or share the title with someone else. Some of these are free, new, best, greatest, better, sensational, amazing, important, remarkable, unique, simple, and secret. And also, negative superlatives work very well, like worst or never. Here are the results of a study by Outbrain showing the negative superlative getting a 30% bump over titles that didn't have a superlative at all. Here's the conductor study that I just mentioned showing the headline superlative preferences. As you can see, the first bar shows that only 22% clicked on a title that did not have a superlative in it. The other 78% all had superlatives in it, and out of superlatives having 1, 2, 3, or 4 superlatives within a title, the one superlative within a title performed the best. And one final study showing that the posts with a higher emotional value consistently get more shares. And that's why I mentioned all those emotional words that you want to use for your superlatives, because that's going to get your title and your post to get shared over and over on social media. The final part of the perfect title formula is using the exact keyword phrase. The exact keyword phrase will be the phrase that you identified in your keyword research. So if the keyword phrase from the master spreadsheet is apple pie recipes, then your title might be 13 Incredible Apple Pie Recipes. By using the exact keyword phrase, it'll make sure that your post gets indexed by Google, and this allows you to show up when people do searches for apple pie recipes. Now that we've covered the perfect title formula, let me go into some other musts that you need to make sure that you do for your titles. You want to use sentence case for all of your blog post titles. As you can see in the examples below, you've got sentence case, which essentially means the first letter of each word is going to be capitalized, except for small words like for or to are A. Capital case would be if everything was capitalized, and lowercase would be if you had all lowercase. So you want to use sentence case for all of your blog post titles. Here's another study by a conductor showing the sentence case headlines are massively preferred over all the other types of headlines in regards to capitalization. Another thing that you want to be aware of is that Google searches performed by computers cuts off long titles. On average, Google cuts off titles after 70 characters when the search is done from a desktop or laptop computer. It used to be 57 characters, but Google changed the layout of their search results and it's now 70 characters. Here's a screenshot of some Google results, and when you look down at the one with the red arrow to it, you can see what I'm talking about at 500 social media marketing tips. Then it says essential advice, hints, and strategy, and it has ... This is an example of a title that went beyond 70 characters on desktop and laptops, and then it gets truncated, which means it gets cut off and shows the ... For Google mobile search results, it has a different set of parameters for titles. Any title between 40 and 54 characters will get cut off and placed on a single line in a search result. Now, for titles beyond 70 characters, they will get cut off and placed on 2 lines in a search result. Here's a screenshot showing the difference between mobile results on Google and desktop results on Google for the same 2 results. At the top is the mobile results, and as you can see, the first one is a really long title and it puts it on 2 lines. So it makes the title stand out even more because it's longer as opposed to the shorter one that gets truncated. And below, you can see the same 2 results on desktop traffic, where if you were just looking at desktop traffic titles and you weren't looking at mobile for optimization, you'd think that 8 psychological tips for your marketing strategy would be great, but it gets truncated in mobile. And that's really important because mobile traffic makes up more than 60% of all blog traffic. So you want to make sure your titles are optimized perfectly for Google search and mobile traffic. If you're anything like me, you may be a little bit confused about the desktop versus the mobile titles in Google search results and trying to figure out what to do with your title. So I'm going to simplify it. To avoid cutoff, your title should be between 55 and 70 characters or less than 40 characters. Ideally, I prefer doing titles that have character counts between 55 and 70. This is going to ensure that your title shows up completely on Google Computer and mobile search. Titles that get cut off will hurt your click-through rates and keep you from rising up the Google rankings. So it's really important that you do character counts on all of your titles before you publish that blog post. Another thing to consider is that when it makes sense, try to address the reader in your blog post title. People want to feel as if you're talking directly to them. By using the words you and your in your title, you are addressing them individually. The first example I have here is 15 best ways to improve your subject lines. And the second example is 9 easiest ways to double your blog's traffic. Here are the results of a study by Buffer that looked at the most popular words and phrases in highly shared headlines. When you're going down the list, the first one is the list post, which is essentially using the perfect title formula that I shared with you earlier. And then right after that is any type of title that has you or your in it. So by combining that perfect title formula and adding the you or your when it makes sense, that really adds to the amount of shares you're going to get and the amount of clicks that you're going to get through Google. Here's a quick recap of the ideal blog post title. It starts with the perfect title formula: odd number plus superlative plus exact keyword phrase. You'll also want to make sure that you use sentence case and that you use between 55 to 70 characters or less than 40 characters to make sure your title shows up completely in Google mobile and desktop search results. In addition, when it makes sense, address the reader by you or your within your post title. And here are 2 examples of titles. The first is the long title example: 21 great social media marketing tips you need to know. And here's the short title example, which is 11 best dental marketing tips. Before I say goodbye, I want to ask you to pull out your smartphone right now and subscribe to my podcast, The Blog Millionaire. It has over 75 free blog and growth hack episodes like the one I just shared with you. If you don't know how to subscribe to a podcast, then the link in the description below this video will show you exactly how to do it. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.